All right. Awesome. Well, I appreciate everybody taking the time out of their day. So with the launch of ballot lists and the popularity that we've seen so far, we're hosting an educational series of webinars aimed at providing insight into some of the most common types of community association related voting scenarios. Today's session is going to be all about the security of elections and voting in general. First half of the presentation will be mostly educational, and then we're going to circle back at the tail end with an actual demonstration of the software. So this is a presentation, so your mics are going to be muted, for the duration. But please feel free to use the Q&A section in the Zoom meeting, and I'll be making sure to circle back towards the end on those. So before I jump in, for any who are unfamiliar with Ballot Bliss, we were actually founded last year, but we're partnered with a company called Polera Software, a well-known association management software that's been in the industry for almost 18 years. We're also part of CAI, DACM in California, and a number of other industry-specific organizations. So we know our stuff when it comes to HOAs, condos, and this association management industry. A little about me. My name is Shay. I've been in the HOA and property management industry for over 8 years, but I've worked in sales and customer service for over 12 at this point. I've worked with several management companies in upwards of the range of 55,000 units for onboarding their communities and providing resident engagement best practices. Prior to this, I worked with Fidelity Investments for a number of years, and it also happens that our CEO and lead developer were also with Fidelity for over 10 years. So we bring kind of an enterprise level mentality to everything that we do and we build in our software. But that's enough about me. So during this webinar, I'll be providing some information on the importance of security in your community's elections, hidden gaps you may not have even seen, and how to proactively fix any security vulnerabilities so your election runs smoothly. Election security is vital, and here's why. So have you ever experienced any residents questioning the results or feeling suspicious about the process? The cost of contested elections is high. Residents in a Hancock HOA recently found themselves in that situation, and what's becoming kind of a cautionary tale. Hancock HOA's election was recently in turmoil when a simple spreadsheet error threw their election results into chaos. And how did this happen? After the election, volunteers announced a new board member as the winning candidate, only to discover days later that the vote was tabulated with a basic Excel sorting error that had incorrectly assigned the votes. So when recalculated, the vote count showed a significantly different outcome with another candidate securing the position, which of course led to homeowners becoming suspicious and requesting a review of the election by a third party. And of course, having to do a new election. So this underscores the importance of getting reliable voting outcomes through a secure vote count that no one can question. It's mostly about building resident trust. So in one community, several years of not meeting quorum had long-lasting consequences. One HOA in Indiana failed to reach the required 700 vote quorum, but that didn't stop their board from declaring victory anyways. When frustrated residents discovered their community was being run by what they termed as a shadow board, elected without proper authority, they took legal action, of course. The lawsuit exposed how corners cut during one hasty election cascaded into years of questionable authority. Some residents faced unexpected bills running into the thousands to rectify years of improper governance, while others just lost their homes. So a secure voting process that ensures rules are being followed builds resident trust in the long run. When residents trust the process, they can get behind board decisions and feel confident in them. So is your election truly secure? Now that you know the importance and security of elections, we'll cover some of the reasons why your HOA election may not truly be secret. So 44% of people believe that online elections are less secure. So why is that? Many HOA election systems don't properly separate the verification of voters from the recording of votes. When these processes aren't separated, administrators who manage the system can potentially link specific votes back to individual homeowners, compromising the ballot secrecy. Additionally, these systems may log IP addresses, device information, or timestamps that could be correlated with voting patterns, which allows some tech-savvy administrators to associate individual voting behaviors. Physical ballots that include both identity verification, like unit numbers or signatures on the envelopes, and voting choices aren't often processed individually. So when the same individuals handle both components without any process in place, they can easily connect voters to their choices during counting. And some HOAs rely on informal collection methods like email voting, collecting ballots at the community meetings, or drop boxes in common areas without proper controls. These methods make it easy to identify who submitted which ballot and create opportunities for ballots to be viewed before they're properly separated and made anonymous. Even well-run elections have security vulnerabilities. Let's look at the 5 most common issues that might be affecting your community voting process. And one of those being unauthorized ballot access. The first risk is unauthorized access. This is when someone who shouldn't be able to vote casts a ballot. This can be a former resident who has moved away, or an outside party like a hacker gaining access to your voting system. Exposure of personal data. So nothing destroys resident trust faster than exposing personal information. In 2017, voter data for over 198 million Americans, including their voting choices, was leaked in a major privacy breach. Community associations run a similar risk when they expose their data. So, errors in vote tallying. Technical glitches or human error in counting votes can undermine your entire election, like what happened in the Hancock HOA case we were just talking about. Even high-profile elections aren't immune to errors. In Nevada's 2022 election, 1 in 4 votes was tallied incorrectly. Insufficient access control for managers. So without clear roles defining who creates ballots, sends voting invitations, or unseals results, your election becomes vulnerable to manipulation. Documenting who handles each step creates accountability. Poor record keeping. So once the election is concluded, the most important part of the process is keeping accurate record of the results. If your association can't track who handled election materials, or fails to meet legal requirements for data retention, anyone can question the legitimacy of the results. So next, I'll be discussing some of the ways you can be more proactive as a ballot administrator to create more secure voting processes. And the first is to verify your voters. So it's important to make sure that eligible voters in your community can vote. Keeping your database updated, including making sure you have the correct owners and contact information, is vital. When creating your ballots, make sure to establish who can vote. If it's a board-only vote, make sure it's accessible to only the board, for example. Also, reviewing your entire voting process before the first vote is cast can help you catch any discrepancies before voting begins. It's important to remember that strict voter verification isn't about exclusion. It's about ensuring that voting processes are fair and reflects your community's needs. Provide secure access to the ballot. So after confirming eligible voters, focus on giving them secure access to the ballot. Set specific voting windows with clear start and end times to prevent early or late submissions. Give each resident their own personalized login credentials or unique ballot links. Protect privacy with truly secret ballots. So residents need confidence that their votes will remain private. Address any privacy concerns before voting begins by explaining the protections built into your system. Whether you use online voting, paper ballots, or both, ensure your platform can't connect specific choices back to the voters themselves. When running community votes, explain your counting method early. Whether you're using simple majority or weighted voting, let residents know how you're protecting their privacy during the counting process. Make sure your system shows the total votes and results while keeping individual choices private. And give residents a way to verify their ballots were included by offering optional email confirmations that only acknowledge their participation, not what they actually voted for. And create a reliable chain of custody. So after the election, maintain a clear chain of custody for all records, from ballots to final results. Develop specific retention policies that detail how everything is stored and for how long. Limit access to these records. Only designated team members should handle election materials and oversee the process from start to finish. And it's important to keep a detailed audit trail documenting each step taken: when the ballots were unsealed, who viewed them, when counting began, and when results were actually announced. This creates accountability and helps address any questions that might arise later down the road. And so now that we've discussed hidden security gaps in an election or a vote and proactive ways to fix them, we're going to go ahead and discuss how we can leverage technology like ballot lists to make our lives easier and work towards better outcomes for your communities. First off, your voting software should have strong protections against outside interference and prevent any resident from voting twice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop over to our demonstration community that we use here called Cherry Hill, which is a fictitious community. I'm logged in as my manager profile, which is a secure login that's tied to my email. As long as I'm the only one that has access to that email, I'm the only one that can get into this system. So that's the first level of security. Then I'm going to head over to our ballot admin area, which is where the actual building and managing of the ballots happens. I have a few examples in here that I'm going to use to show you, for example, this annual election and budget approval, which we can see was set up for a certain date range. Basically, that's the same stuff that I would do if I'm creating a brand new ballot. So when I go to create a new one, the first thing that I'm going to do is put in the name of the ballot. I can add a description with any additional information. And then here's where I set those security measures that I was just referring to. So I can say who should be able to vote on it, if it's a board-only vote or just intended for owners. We support all of these types. And then the restriction of one vote per unit. That can be disabled if you wanted to use our system for like surveys or polls that are less, risky. But for official votes, elections, that's typically going to be a default. And then, of course, you would want to make sure it's only for owners. This is also where I can set this to be a secret ballot as well. And then, of course, was showing you on that other screen is the vote start date and end date. Now, to clarify, the way our system works is you can do pre-balloting too. So the start date and end date just says when they should be able to actually vote on that particular ballot that you're building. But you can also activate it earlier than that, and they would still be able to access the ballot, but they wouldn't be able to submit their vote until such time that that start date has passed. Back over to our presentation here. Okay. So one part of running an election that other voting softwares tend to fall short on is the ability to communicate effectively with the voting population leading up to the vote date and during the voting period. So with ballot lists, you can actually send outbound emails and physical mailings, and we're going to soon be introducing a texting option as well. When you send a ballot invite to a voter, they're going to receive an email with a randomly generated secure link and code. Excuse me. Once the link is accessed and the code is entered, they will be brought directly to the ballot to place their vote, no login required. Physical mailings can be downloaded in PDF format and sent manually. And we also track all the outbound communications from our system, so you can see things like if the email was delivered, opened, bounced, and of course, once texting is available, we can also let you know that that was successfully delivered or not. So to show you that, let me hop back over to our community. So back over here to the portal area, under the communications menu, is what's called an announcement. So within the announcement area, I can select what's called a ballot invite. And then it'll give me a list of all the different ballots. You can see the one that we were just looking at for the annual election. Now, when you first send these out, likely you're just going to want to blast it to the entire community. But then once you are, past that point, I expect you would only want to send it to those who haven't voted. So we do have that built into it to make sure you're not spamming those who have already placed their vote. The specifications on who should be able to vote is already brought in from the ballot admin area that I was just showing you. So what we pick here just auto-populates in here, and you see I can't change that. So it automatically detects who should be voting on it. And then you can create templates for, for the opening message or reminders that you might want to send out after that. And I do have some examples to show you guys of what that looks like. So here's, an example of that email. You can see there's my secure link and then the randomly generated code. The links are different between each person. And if someone, say, has multiple units, it'll be one link that they click on that they can then go vote for all of their different units. As well as, again, if it's, multiple people living in the same unit, as long as that restriction of one vote per unit is in there, then they cannot double vote. And I can send myself quick test emails as well as the letter, which I also have an example of. Now, we will basically, and you can have the logo set up to be on that letter. It automatically fills in the return address and their name and address again, and they can just use a device to use the same link and randomly generated code, which is different than the one that would be generated from the email, by the way, if that makes a difference. So, and then once it's sent, there's this area called Message Center, and this is where I can track those messages. So, and you can see here's an example of a vote being received. So you can see it was confirmed delivered. And again, as we continue to enhance this, texting is going to also be available with tracking as well. We do have reports that you can quickly go to see all email issues too that exist in the database, so that you can try to rectify and get good contact details, things like that. All right. So offer your residents complete secrecy and give them peace of mind. With secret ballots, not even the voting system can link individuals to their specific choices. So to show you this and to kind of clarify, we've noticed that a lot of systems, they mention secret ballot, but as the actual software providers of the system, being able to still go in the back end and associate a vote back to the person who placed it is in some states considered not really secret. So we've enhanced our system to make it so that even us as the software providers cannot go back and do that, to make sure that it's a truly secret ballot. And so hopping back over here to our ballot admin area, I think I already showed you the strict restrictions area. So when I select to do that, in this case, a secret ballot can't also have percentage of ownership, so it disables that automatically. But that's how I would make sure. And then to show you, how that works, if I go back over to where we have our ballots here, this one we have made secret and it hasn't ended yet. And so when I go in to try to look at the results, I get a message that essentially says, hey, by doing so, you are now going to log into the system and into an audit history that shows you unsealed this at such and such date and such time. So basically, it prevents there being any possibility that those results could have been accessed, prior to when they're being unsealed. And then once they're unsealed, let me show you another one that we can actually look at those. Bear with me. This one's not set up as secret. So once unsealed, we have visual charts that you can see, which tallies the number of votes cast and table area. In this case, this is not a secret ballot, so you can see I can see who voted and what for if I want to. Polling reports, redacted reports, which will actually remove that information if you need to provide the results to the board in that way. PDF audit trails and so forth. Right. So make sure to monitor your community's progress towards reaching quorum in real time while keeping individual choices confidential. Instant results and tabulations with safeguards built in ensure that voters aren't changed or votes aren't changed or tampered with. And this has to do with our quorum tracking. So hop back over to our demo area here. And so in the settings, you can add in a quorum number. And what this does is this is only applicable if you're not using percentage of ownership. So if you know that each vote cast is worth 1 unit per unit, then this will give you a visual representation back on your list view. Actually, there's one right there. You can see they put 50 with the results. So I apologize. You can use percentage of ownership. It's the secret ballot that can't be used with percentage. So you can actually factor in the quorum based on the percentage of ownership as well. I apologize. All right. So we do keep an audit trail that will show which ballot administrator, if there were more than one, and when it was accessed. In the event that the ballot was made to be hidden until it was archived, it will prompt the ballot administrator to acknowledge that they're unsealing the results, which is what I was just showing you a moment ago. And that'll show up on that audit trail. If there was a scenario where, say, they unseal the results prior to the vote ending, that would show up in that audit log, and they can't delete those audit logs. So it creates full accountability in that regard. So I'll show you that real quick here. And make sure we show you one that has history. So here's actually the logging that we were just doing right there. So you can see my view was logged and it time-stamped it just a few minutes ago. Results visibility unsealed. So it really does create full accountability. There's no chance that an administrator, or even if there was multiple in here, would be able to, mess with that. So in summary, Ballot Bliss is built with the security of your community's votes in mind. You can easily send eligible residents ballots with personalized links and codes, create secret ballots that keep voter information separate from their choices, audit trails for real-time accountability, and start and end dates to lock down the vote with instant results in the form of charts and tables. And of course, the result of this should hopefully be happier and more confident residents in your process. Having the additional option of being able to place their votes remotely, as in the situation of someone who maybe doesn't live at their unit year-round, makes this a powerful solution. Here's a testimonial from one of our clients that's been using our voting now for a few years. They actually had an 80% turnout on their last election due to the convenience of having it online. So that was a successful situation. This is a more recent testimonial from a client that for First Service Residential. We helped their association reach quorum for the first time since the community was created over 20 years ago. So they were super happy with the results. 9 out of 10 passed on their amendments. And as I mentioned at the beginning, one of our best qualities is providing excellent customer service. In a recent survey to our clients, they rewarded us with a 98% overall satisfaction rating. So if any of our clients are in attendance, we love you. Thank you for being here. And if you are interested in learning more or discussing Ballot Bliss further with a specialist, we encourage you to schedule a one-on-one session. We'll actually be providing a $25 gift card as a thank you for anyone that's attending the webinar here that also schedules a demo and completes it. And that link is up on our website. If you go to ballotbliss.com, big book a demo link right there. If you're ready to move forward with Ballot Bliss, it's also easy as just going to the same place and on our pricing page. You select the number of units, and then there's a Get Started button here, which will bring you to the next step. So we will do the work of importing your resident data into our system and providing any necessary training. Once set up, the voting process is quick and easy for residents, and the end result is increased participation, trust, and an overall faster option for making community decisions. As a thank you for joining the webinar, we will be sending each of you a helpful checklist that you can use for your next election or voting scenario. Just kind of goes over the things that you probably should be thinking about and helps you direct the flow of it. And at this point, I'll be taking any questions that are in there. So if you haven't already, make sure you pop them into the Q&A. If we run out of time, I will definitely be following up with anybody that asks a question in here. Okay, so how does your system determine resident status, admin, renter, et cetera, to determine voting eligibility? Into which HOA management software products does your product integrate? So that's actually a great question. So as I mentioned, I think at the beginning, our sister company, Polera, which has been around for many years, does actually have integrations which works with the Ballot Bliss system. So we do integrate with the likes of QuickBooks, Enumerate, Vantica, Sync, GenArc, just to name a few of the bigger names. So we could be using that as our source of truth for that information. But we also, during the import process can dictate who is a renter, who is not, who's an owner, if there's multiple, and so forth. And then we're very careful. We have a specific environment, we call it the validation environment, where we bring that information in first to make sure that it looks right, that everything's accurate. We'll make sure that we walk you through it and that you confirm it looks correct before we actually go live with it. So hopefully that answers your question. And I think as a follow-up to that, HOA management software. So we don't have integrations with any HOA management softwares, just accounting integrations. So again, if you don't have any of the integration or any of the accounting systems that I mentioned, we can just bring that data in through an import process. Let's see. If we don't meet quorum, can we extend the voting period? Yeah, so actually, as part of our system, so we do have two different pricing models. We have one that's intended for just if it's a single election or single ballot, and then we have like an annual unlimited options. But if it's something where you're just purchasing a single ballot from us, we are allowing you to have access to that ballot for a year from the time of purchase. So if you don't hit quorum within the initial, voting period, you do have the ability to just go and extend that. And it's as simple as, for example, if we're looking at this one as the example here, you know, we've pushed this out to 2027 already. But if it was already up to the period that it ended, I can manipulate this and push it out without it affecting the ballot. It's not going to mess anything up, and then I would just save it, and then you can resend those ballot invites if you need to. Okay. Oops. Make sure that we are in fact getting everybody's questions. Proxy votes. Someone asked, how does it handle proxy votes? That is a good question. So this is actually something that we will be doing an enhancement on very soon. Right now, the way that would work is, again, I'm logged in as our manager. In the community drop-down area, you can go to the occupants section where I can see all of the occupants, who they are, right? An owner, board member, what have you. And from here, let's just say it was Ava that I was going to cast the proxy for. We have this what's called pretender session. So I can pretend to be Ava, and then from there, I can just basically go in and vote as if I was her in the ballots area. And what'll happen is when that's logged into the results, it will say that it was cast by Matt Manager for Ava Richardson, so that it's being logged appropriately. And then separate to that, I can also go back into her profile area there. And if I need to, we have a, I apologize, it's not up on this account. We do have a way that you can store documents at the unit level. So there would be a unit documents area right here. I don't have it enabled for the community, but you can drop in, that proxy paperwork if you need to as a way to track it. It's a good question though. All right. Okay. How can residents access the voting platform to cast their vote? Well, so I mentioned about the email with the secure link, which does not force them to log in or register in any way. It's a secure and unique link. But if your community is concerned with the security and want to have that extra measure, you can also send them registration requests, in which case they can use their email to create a login and then actually log into the system securely to cast their vote too. So we support both methods. Obviously, the easier of the two being a no login required secure link, but that would be a preference thing. Yep. All right. And that looks like all the questions. So obviously, if any questions come up after the fact, definitely reach out to us, sales@ballotbliss.com. Be happy to answer any other questions that you might have after the fact. But we do appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll be hearing from you as your elections and voting needs come near. Thank you.